Ghostface is the killer.
Oh, come on, man.
Thanks for joining us, guys. Good night. Okay, welcome to Brian Lomax Movie Talk. It's our top stream, but not as you know it. Cause
it's also a Scream
stream.
stream.
It's on my channel. It is. It's also a...
Wait, okay, if it's a Scream stream, can everybody hear us?
No,
Can everybody see everybody?
in the chat, just tell us in the
Yeah,
chat. Can you,
if you can hear us,
okay?
just say something.
Now, CP's mic. Can you tell us if you can hear? Can you
One
hear
person
Cody?
said we're good. Let's go.
Oh, okay, that's it. Let's do it. Right. Okay. Enough of that nonsense. Right. Yes. Welcome to our top stream. Although it's on my channel tonight, so it's. I don't know if that counts really. It counts. It's the three of us.
It does.
It's our top
We're
stream.
just streaming, talking about Scream.
We're just three guys, three friends streaming. It just, yeah, Scream's a pretty big deal for me when it comes to slasher franchises and horror in general, because like it is pretty much the movie, the franchise that got me into horror. I had seen horror movies before Scream, but I wouldn't have called myself a horror fan. Scream was the first film I went to the cinema to see like 3 times. It was just like, it hooked me, line and sinker. So, so I've always been a big fan of this franchise. Even at its low points, I found it interesting, found it watchable. So that's kind of where I was at coming into the new film that has been released, Scream 2022. It's, a trend that seriously needs to die. But yeah, so obviously you know these guys. If you're no stranger to my channel, let's face it, CP, Cody, hello, and CP, I'll start with you. What, before going into Scream 2022, what does this franchise actually mean to you? Does it have any value to you? Where would you kind of rate it in amongst other slasher franchises? Because we know you're the big Friday the 13th guy.
Yeah,
So.
yeah. No, it's important to slashers because it essentially rejuvenated slashers in the 90s. I understand how big a deal it is. I loved one. I saw it in the theaters as well, and I really, it was so invigorating and fresh. And then, 2 was, you're not going to top 1, so 2 was 2. 3, it was like, oh, okay, you're a slasher franchise, all right. And then when 4 came out, when it did, I was like, oh, this kind of weird timing. And then, sure enough, the way they were like meta on all the Saw and other that crap, it was like refreshing, and I really, really quite enjoyed 4. And it's up there. It's up there for me. It certainly makes more sense than Friday the 13th. I'll say that much.
Yeah.
We actually get
Cody,
to see the killer before the third act. As far as me, I've told this story a number of times, but I've had kind of a complicated relationship with Scream. I was introduced to horror very young. I want to say I was like 4 years old, and I've always been a horror fanatic. I grew up watching Chucky and Freddy, and eventually whatever Halloween movie we had, which I think we only had the first one, and Pet Sematary, Stephen King movies, the whole kit and caboodle. And so I'm 6 years old, and Scream comes out. And it was always understood. I was mature enough as a kid to understand that, you're not really supposed to be watching these movies. So because you are, I need you to just shut your little mouth about it. Don't tell your friends at school. Don't tell your teachers. And because of that, I never really felt like any other kids knew horror or liked horror. It kind of felt like this special little world that I had all to myself. Everybody else was all about, the newest Goosebumps or, the Little Mermaid or whatever the hell else was coming out, Jumanji, which I love those too. But it was a special little world that I had to myself. And when 1996 came around and Scream came out, that all changed, especially when Scream 2 came out, to where everybody and their mother suddenly was a horror fan. It was popular to be a horror fan now. There was Ghostface costumes everywhere. And I remember I was like a 6-year-old gatekeeper. I'm like, you're not a horror fan. You don't know shit about any of this stuff. Shut up. And so I had kind of a callous to Scream for a while because it felt like that was, that was the loser's horror. They don't know anything about any of this
horror.
stuff. Yeah, and so it really took until I was maybe in my early 20s to kind of revisit these movies and be like, you know what? I've gotten over my stupid little stigma. These are actually pretty good. And so I've watched them a number of times throughout my life, and they've never been my favorite, but they've always been, before the last couple of them, I would have said that Scream as well as Child's Play were the most consistent slasher franchise as far as the template, as far as the quality, certainly. Now it's just Scream. Scream's definitely of all the slasher franchises, I think it's the most consistent. Even Scream 3, which is most people's answer for worst Scream movie, still a very solid movie. I mean, we've said it before. If that's your worst movie, doing pretty damn good for a slasher franchise. So, it's a franchise that I enjoy, but I probably will always be a casual Scream fan. I walked into this one just saying, as long as it's along the quality of the other ones, I'm fine. That's all I really need.
I will at this point just give a big shout out to a patron of mine, Aaron White. His favourite film in the franchise is Scream 3. So I think that's crazy, personally. I think that's insane. But he's got a story behind it. But it's just, it just goes to show even the worst film in the franchise can be somebody's favourite. But I love the film. My first ever favourite film, like the first time I latched onto a film and said, that's my favourite film, as you guys know, is Critters. So my start, even though I wouldn't have said I was a horror fan, my start in movies, in movie fandom, really began in horror. So and one of my earliest memories was seeing Nightmare on Elm Street 3 as a kid. That scared the crap out of me and traumatized me for a good 3 or 4 years.
Baby tonight.
So so in case you didn't realize from the title of this video, we're talking about the new Scream film. We are going to spoil the crap out of it from here on out. So if you've not seen it yet, what are you doing? Go and watch it, then come back, watch this video. If that doesn't bother you, then fair enough, you've been warned. But from here on out, spoilers, okay?
So when Matthew Lillard came back, man, what is your theater's reaction?
I wish he'd come back. I always thought they could bring him back, that he'd be in some mental institution somewhere.
It's just believable enough.
Yeah,
it's just believable enough. Yeah,
I think you could have a TV thrown on your head and still survive.
Yeah.
As soon as the power supplies come out of that thing, you're really talking about just the damage the glass is going to do. And
that's been a rumor for a while, and I mean, I think we might have all talked about this, maybe dating as far back as Scream Stream, but we talked about this a while back when we were talking about maybe a Scream sequel, or maybe even when they announced it or whatever. And I want to say I was talking about that, saying that they could do it if they're going to talk about requels and they're going to do the Halloween 2018 commentary. We got to go back to the beginning. And I got to be honest, I think my hopes got way too high throughout this movie, because every single piece of what I was saying would have been cool was set in place. And I'm like, oh, they're doing the requel commentary. They're going back to family lineage. We got to go back to the setting of the first movie, which is Stu's house. It's going to be him. Oh, no, it's Jack Quaid. See, it was obvious. What the hell? And so as good as the movie was, the killer reveal was one of the biggest knocks for me, because I'm like, damn, like if you were going to do it, that was the time to do it.
Yeah. I think one of the biggest complaints I've heard about this film, and it's a complaint I made myself in my review, is the motive for these guys. And I had the same complaint really with 4. For me, I do like 4 quite a bit. I didn't the first time I watched it, to be honest. But 4 has really grown on me over the years. But I still find the final act, the killer reveal, the whole Scooby-Doo explanation thing, it's just, I don't see much difference between that one and this one, to be honest, when it comes to
between
motive.
4 and 5.
Yeah, when it comes to motive, it's just like if you look at motives for killers, certainly Billy, strongest motive. Billy's mom, obviously, because her son's been killed, and then the dude from the third one who kind of feels like it's a bit. It's not that it's a bad.
Executed a little wonky.
the twist, the idea behind it isn't bad. It's just it feels like it's you're straining here to get there, but what some people might call forced, but whatever.
And that'd be the script. That's forced.
Yeah. But I do feel like the motive in this one, and I think it kind of feeds into mostly what Cody was saying, is that it's built up in such a way that you feel like it's leading somewhere that is going to be genuinely like, this is like, if you're a Scream fan, it's going to be something big, something monumental that ties into every film. And it's not. It's just another two random ass teenagers who've seen one too many scary movies and want to be part of that lineage. And it's just like, that's disappointing.
Yeah,
Are we getting into the ending now? Because
Cody threw that out there, so I just figured, why not? We'll be all over the place with this. But
just remind me about the killers and their relation to one another, because.
Yeah, I mean, I think the thing that set it up so bad for me was that they hammer home all the importance of the family lineage to the first film, to where you've got Billy Loomis's daughter is like the new protagonist, and how much she keeps revisiting that idea of, what gets passed down from him. All of the victims are family members of the original. And so just original.
Yeah.
It's going back to the original. Something's going to happen with the original. And then when you get to the end, it's just kind of like what Brian said. And I'm a big fan of 4, probably more so than he is with the third act. But in the third act of 4, it's like, we're going to recreate the original. I'm going to be the new Sidney. He's going to be the new Randy. We're going to set all this up. And then you get to this one, and it's kind of the same thing. It's, toxic fandom. They've screwed up our franchise. Now we've got to take it back to the original. We got to recreate everything. And it is kind of a little wash, rinse, repeat.
Yep. Yeah. We're going to do a commentary on how many requels and how treaded it is, and then we're going to do the same thing,
which tends to be a bit of a tight wire act, and a lot of movies do it. They tend to. The Matrix Resurrections was one that came out recently that did it, to where they're pointing the finger at legacy sequels and how the studios do it, but then they kind of do the same thing. So it's kind of like it's a way to do commentary that's getting really popular nowadays, where
I do think Matrix Resurrections did it well. I'm one of the few people that loved that movie, and I think it's actually going to be one that grows in appreciation over the years once people realize how wrong they are.
Well, Lana Wachowski didn't really want to do it, but Warner was like, if you don't, we're going to get somebody else to do it. And Lana was like, all right, I guess I'll make
and be right then into the plot too.
See, I don't know where.
They had their digs at Warner in the movie. It's like
well, big time. The thing is, I don't know where those stories come from. Like, you always get stories like that are, some rag kind of puts out, and then a few people hear it, they take it as gospel, they spread it, and then it's like, So it's just like, personally, when I look at that movie, I see a lot of love and attention that's gone into what she was trying to achieve, and I was on board for it. But
I see a more focused Jupiter Ascending. I like
Moving
Jupiter
Ascending.
Thank you to Horrific for your super chat. Similar to CP, falling in love with an idea and then disappointed when it doesn't come true. The script mentions Stu way too much and plants ideas. Yeah. Simple fact. I do think. I mean, I gather that the 6th film has already been greenlit. I'm sure I read today that the 6th film has already been greenlit.
If they haven't announced it, trust me, some palms are already getting greased with money saying, "Do another one."
Well, I think seeds have already been planted. I think they've already got ideas as to where they're going, and I think one of those seeds is to do with Sam's mother, because this is a woman who slept with Billy Loomis, and we don't even get to see her in the film. So it's like, clearly that is something that is set up for delving further down the line with things. And who knows, maybe she goes off at night nursing Stu in a mental home. Like, who knows? But yeah.
What is with that town and their ability to pump out massive film fans where, you have 5 or 6 kids in high school that they know their stuff. And it's just like, yep, well, this generation, they must really have a really good film program at that school because...
I would argue that a lot of it is down to the fact that a massive film franchise, Stab, is based in their hometown, and
Dude, I live 10 minutes away from Amityville. Nobody talks about the damn thing.
Nobody talks about Amityville, though. So
Desi.
Hey, what are you saying?
Another super chat.
Oh, yep. Okay. Thank you, Desi. Yeah, Ghostface felt so intimidating in this during the kills. So to find out it was 2 people who didn't feel that way outside of the mask is disappointing. Yeah,
Never mind the height differential.
It's just like if you go back to Dewey's kill, I mean Dewey's not that tall, to be honest. David Arquette isn't exactly. Although somebody mentions that he is pretty tall in the film. There's a line dropped about how he's tall.
Yeah, forced perspective so that nothing feels out of place when something else happens.
But yeah, the biggest death scene, obviously, in the film is Dewey's death scene. It's a long time coming, quite frankly. Should have happened like 3 movies ago, 2 movies ago.
Should have took Courtney Cox with him.
Yeah. I mean, to be honest, I always would have preferred Courtney Cox going over Dewey, but I think the fact that I like Dewey a lot more means that him.
I did in this movie, and I'm actually not really a big fan of his character, especially the first film. He's like purposefully kind of doofy, hence the name Doofy in Scream or sorry, Scary Movie. Yeah. But yeah, this movie it really felt like either he or the writing tried to pull something different out of the character, where he's grizzled and kind of regretful and trying to have a little bit of redemption. And I liked him more than I liked Sidney in this movie. I don't know how the hell that's possible, but it happened.
Yeah, he was definitely the most. Yeah, definitely the most likable. I wouldn't say Sidney was just there, but
no, she was. Certainly... I saw it.
Oh, she was definitely there, but she wasn't just there. I still root for Sidney in this. I still like her. I just find her to be a real badass. I personally think she is the single greatest final girl in a slasher franchise. But I think definitely in this one the most likable character for me was Dewey. And there was definitely a much greater sense of maturity about him in this one. Like you say, that whole grizzled aspect, the fact that he's been through the ringer, and he now seems to have completely put aside the whole doofus aspect of his character. Even the bit when he's, just before he gets killed, and he's walking over to the killer, and he just drops the bullets out. It's like he seems to be a bit of a badass with the gun, like he knows what he's doing. He's not. Like if that had been the first film, it'd have been fumbling the gun and dropping the bullets and that kind of thing. Where he just strolls over there like Dirty Harry, and it's just like, and it's only by the fact that he gets a stupid flipping phone call. Like what is it with horror films when people phone someone just at the wrong time and it gets them killed?
That would have been Halloween Kills too, just for the record.
It's just like, yeah, thanks for that. You just cost me my life, bitch. It's just like, you're going to phone me later.
Yeah, just he dies and it shows the text message just like, you up?
Yeah.
Airplane mode.
But the kill itself, you really feel it, just because it's not just one night. It's like one in the front, one in the back, and they both work their way up.
The music accentuates it too.
Yeah, and it's just really well handled. Cinematography wise, I got to say as well, across the board, this film is so much better looking than any other previous Scream film. They even call that out in the in the movie about how 90s slasher, 90s horror was really overlit, and I do feel that is the case.
Yeah, with the Scream I think the first one has some flat lighting. Actually, most of them do.
They most Most of them do, to be honest.
For those who don't know, flat lighting is like if you go
Friends. It's like an episode of Friends.
Yeah.
Where everything is just lit the same.
If you watch
no
a
shadows.
sitcom, everything's lit the same, and it's just
Yeah.
They were mostly in studios too. The first 4, I believe.
Yeah.
Like Wes Craven really was kind of an economical director. I don't know if they changed that for this one. But.
But certainly here it's shot more like a horror movie. There's shadows, there's dark spots where things can lurk. It's just it just looks nicer, I think.
Yeah, the one thing I did notice was in the hospital when it was dark, that hallway scene and the lights under the railway. I was like, I've never been to a hospital like that. That's awesome.
I've never been to a hospital where they have an entire fucking floor that's empty.
Yeah, exactly.
No nurses, no
There's
doctors.
people in the hallway where I am.
I've never been to a British hospital.
I called that out in my review too, because there's moments in the movie where they kind of stretch believability like that because they need a scene to be cool. And I mentioned as just an example that hospital scene, and everybody, but they said it was a private floor. I'm like, I don't care. I know that they gave an explanation for it. It's still stupid.
It's pretty late at night though. I mean, I have been in a hospital late at night and got up to ask a nurse if I can have some more flipping meds, and then there's literally no one around, and I'm like, what the hell?
That's just my perspective then. Anytime I've been to a hospital, it's I mean, this is even before the era we're in now. It's just like, hang on, people, move out of the way. I gotta
a bit like Halloween Kills.
Evil
dies tonight.
Get Danny DeVito! $10. There you go.
Chase Ward, thank you for that. I was one of the people screaming that one of the legacy characters had to die, and as soon as Dewey died, I was like, no! Well, it's an honor line. It was kind of cool though. Yeah, I liked that. Paying Sydney the respect that she's due, quite frankly. But yeah, it is that case where, like, if you'd have asked me to place money on which one of the 3 was going to get, because they had to. At this point, there is no way.
I was afraid they weren't, just because it was the first film without Wes Craven. And as we've seen with films like Terminator Dark Fate, if it's not the original director and you kill an important character, oh my God, how dare you? And I thought that was going to be the first thing that was going to happen. Even if they did it perfectly, if they kill one of them, it's going to be like, you shit on the legacy of Wes Craven.
I mean, that's going to happen anyway. They kind of touch on it in their little meta nature anyway, where like, not everybody's going to be happy.
Yeah,
so,
but especially by the end of the 4th one, it's just like, for Christ's sake, one of you needs to not make it out of this situation. Yeah. Many times as Dewey's been stabbed, as many all that stuff.
That was my sorest point, I think, about the 4th one. Is just that whole last act when you've got literally 3 against Emma Roberts and not one of them dies. It's just like, come on, one of them had to go. So yeah, that really stretched it for me. So I think in this one of them had to go. If I'd have put money on it, it would have been Dewey, unfortunately. But when he did go, I was a bit like, oh man, that's that. And it was nasty as well. It was really gnarly. I was just like, oh, as it was going up. But yeah, so Gail next time. You get yours next time, Gail. Maybe even Sydney.
If they're planning this to be a new trilogy, I think it needs to be Dewey dies in 5, Gale in 6, and then when they wrap up the trilogy, maybe Sydney wraps it all up. I don't know. We'll see. It depends on how strong the characters are that they're replacing them with. Because I like the characters in this movie.
Well, these sisters, isn't it? It's Sam and the what's the name of the other sister?
Don't ask me.
Girl who got her ass kicked in the first 5 minutes.
So basically, those 2 are they're the new protagonists. They're the ones moving forward. So I think if you're doing a new trilogy, you kill off, you build them up in the second one. So that. See, I think you have to go the route that one of them is going to end up psycho.
Hollywood has to gamble. I mean, it's not like horror movies are that expensive anyway. I mean, you're risking $500 million on superhero movies. What's the problem if you risk $10 million on a franchise where you just, here's somebody you don't know, somebody you wouldn't expect. Just let's just try to drive in a different direction here and go somewhere. I mean, Halloween did it. Friday the 13th did it. Nightmare on Elm Street, to a degree, did it. It's just try. Just we don't need the what are they called, the legacy characters? Like no, I get it. It's the same franchise, but either kill them or do something that they're not needed. Like
spoken like a true Friday the 13th fan. We got one movie with them. That's enough. Next cast, please.
Dude, I hate that Kane Hodder's in 4.
Oh man.
Ethan Holgate, thank you. I bet Mikey Madison, who plays Amber, laughed when she found out her character gets lit on fire at the end. I wonder if that was a once upon a time in Hollywood reference. How ironic.
I didn't even think of that.
No, I didn't think of that. It didn't jump out at me if it was. But yeah, that was a nice death, I thought. They do need to get a bit more creative, I think, beyond the stab, shoot kind of thing.
Yeah, nobody wants to do it except people that get slammed by Hollywood. But if you want to do a modern movie and be meta, here's your twist. Homage to Friday the 13th. Have a mom who's pissed off that kids keep recreating these movies, and have her flip out and just start taking out the kids at that school.
Possibles. Taking out all the film students.
Right.
Every
even
bloody
better.
killer comes from the film class in these things, so that's it. No more film class.
Or I mean, like a theater shooting.
Yeah.
I mean, it
Scream
may be a little
6,
too.
school's out. Yeah.
It won't happen though.
How did you guys feel about the whole element of bringing Billy Loomis back and the little visions and having the main character be his daughter and all of that? By the end, she's obviously not the villain, but she at least gets to psycho out on the killer for a minute.
Was that CGI? What was going on with him?
No,
They de-aged him a little bit.
It's age.
It's him, but is it makeup? It's not even CGI.
No, it's probably CGI. They probably de-aged him.
Oh, okay. I was like, something just a little. I know it's him, but it's just a little funky.
Right.
I thought it was. Go ahead, Brian.
I like the angle of having Billy Loomis's daughter in it. Like I saw someone post a big rant the other day about, we never got any mention of Billy Loomis going off with another girl. It's like,
who would know? Who would mention that?
Why would we need that? The guy was clearly a deranged psychopath. There's no reason to think that he wouldn't have cheated on Sydney or been putting it about a bit. So who cares?
Yeah.
It's like...
Yeah. That's your problem? He was a murderer, but him screwing around is the real
He wasn't some celibate kind of...
Hashtag not my Billy.
Yeah. It's like, So, yeah, just such a weird argument. You talk about toxic fans. But, yeah, so I liked the idea that we've got Billy's daughter, that she's one of the new characters that we're going to follow. I don't mind the ending with her like proper like stabbing the hell out of this guy. Only if that gets picked up on in the next one. She needs to be going through some kind of psychiatric program for that, because it's one thing to put a bullet in someone's head when they're coming after you. It's another thing to plunge a knife into them, pull it out, plunge a knife into them, pull it out. But that's like that really does feed into the idea that she is her father's daughter, which brings me to the visions, which is like it was good to see Billy again, but it felt a little bit hokey, if I'm being perfectly honest. The whole vision angle.
I like the change of pace. Just it's kind of like Dexter. He's talking to his subconscious, but it's in the form of a person. Mm-hmm. So it was cute. I liked it.
Yeah.
Dexter fan.
I was fine with it.
Yeah.
I didn't hate it. It's not like it. Oh, this is stupid. It's taking me out of the movie thing. And at the end of the day, we are talking about a slasher.
And it gives you a reason to bring him back and put him in a movie. Yay! Mm-hmm. We're just making fan films now. That's all we're doing. Just constant references and showing the actors all over again.
It is basically just a big budget fan film, isn't it?
That's what that's what they should do. You know what? Go on the QT, go on the quiet end. There's a bunch of really, really good fan films out there. If you were Warner or Paramount or somebody, just throw $50,000 to one of these directors that already have done something and say, go ahead, but we're either gonna disclaim it or we're gonna use it. So you know what, we're paying for it, but we might take it.
You've got directors that are making some stuff that's actually better than movies in those franchises.
I agree.
Like $5,000 or something.
Yeah.
So
that's what I'm saying. Like $50,000 to them. They spend that much on a PA on a production assistant. Just have one less producer in a movie, and you cover enough for 3 fan films. It's just try it. Just try it.
So, horrific. Thank you once again. Say what you will about the MTV series, but they weren't all simply stabs. Didn't make it great.
It's a shame, because that's the only thing that really intrigues me enough to try to watch the show, is because that's been my main gripe with Scream, is that they've had no creativity with the kills. It's just, we'll just keep it simple. He's just going to stab everybody for 5 movies. And
that's the
that was
realism.
Whatever. That was something that this movie I was actually really hoping they were going to do something different with. And damn, all these early reaction reviews, all these freaking people that get the movie and they just blow their load all over Twitter about how amazing every movie they see. And everybody was like, most gruesome Scream, left me shook, bloodbath. And I'm like,
yeah, I'm glad I saw that, because I was like,
maybe a little bit bloodier than the other Screams. I mean, save for the complete disembowelment in Scream 4.
I was just gonna say Drew Barrymore alone
in the first, exactly. But it's not like, even if you were gonna argue this is the bloodiest Scream, it's only by a margin.
I personally like that the scene in the house in 4, just before like Sid goes running in, and then even when she goes running in and the walls are just covered and stuff. Like, I will say one thing about the whole knife thing, stab, everything, is that I do think it makes the kills more personal. Because you're talking about a killer that always has to get into close quarters. It's like if you look at some of the like creative kills in your Friday the 13th and other franchises like that, it does sometimes put a certain level of distance between the killer and the victim, where it's no longer a personal thing. It's just something you look at and you laugh because it's look at that. He just like nailed someone with whatever. So it becomes more funny rather than like I find the kills in Scream to be scarier, I guess, as a result of the fact that it requires someone to come right up close to you.
Do not watch action movies with Emily. Oh, my God.
You gonna elaborate, or are we just?
Thanks for airbagging that.
So I thought you guys know this story. I was watching. I was really in the mood. But I've seen Dark Knight so many times. I want to watch Dark Knight Rises.
Oh, God.
I told me,
I like surround sound. I'm like fired up, and then Tom Hardy starts talking, and she's laughing her ass off, and I'm like, "What are you doing? This is awesome! Get out of here!"
You had to pick the one movie that's going to make Brian her mortal enemy. Said what?
Dude, she laughed at Die Hard. I was just like, what?
Yeah, I'm
how?
Still stung by the Die Hard one.
She just laughs at action movies because it's so silly. And I'm like, all right, you know what?
He brings this up every time because he wants to see my eye.
Yeah.
Start twitching. It's like, So So that's the thing. It's the trade-off between creative kills, which become more fun, and this that it becomes a bit more personal, a bit scarier, I think, in many ways.
I agree with you, but what are the relationships? Personal, I'm with you. Stab is certainly more personal, but between Billy and Sydney, like that, sure.
No, I'm not talking. I'm not talking personal as in relate. I'm not talking relational. I'm talking personal. I mean, you shoot someone, anyone.
You're talking
Someone
about just in general, just
yeah.
Yeah.
You
Okay.
shoot someone you don't know from a distance.
Sure.
It's not personal.
Yeah,
you go up to someone with a knife and stick it under the chin.
Yeah.
That's.
I understand.
Yeah. So that to me is it's creepier because I just the psychology.
Savor all the little emotions.
Yeah. That's pretty good. Well done. Bravo, sir. Bravo.
People are mentioning Kirby in the comment section. Did you guys notice? I did not notice this. Somebody had to point this out to me. But in the scene where Jack Quaid in the hospital is like watching stuff on YouTube about Stab, there's a YouTube video down below, like up next, and it says interview with Ghostface survivor Kirby, whatever her last name.
Right.
So
Yeah.
per the lore, Hayden Panettiere's character is still alive. So because she's
Yeah.
a fan favorite, I'm curious if they're going to capitalize on that.
Yeah, they got it.
And apparently Matthew
fan
Lillard
film.
played the flamethrower Chrome Face Scream or Ghostface in that little trailer for Scream 8 that everybody hated.
Oh,
So that was kind of like their clever way of getting them in there.
The
cute.
Jason X kind of version of the.
The one that the guy from Terrifier apparently said that they ripped off from the genius director of
Oh.
Terrifier 2.
Oh.
You didn't see that?
no, I did
Oh,
not.
Oh,
see
it was
that.
a huge stink maybe 2 months ago when they first played that trailer, and he was like, "Oh, Scream's ripping off from us now," and then you see it, and it's
Okay.
literally like this much of the movie. It's a fan trailer for a movie that doesn't fucking exist.
You flipping wish you had as much class as Scream. Bell end. Right. Sorry if I butcher your name here, Juan or Yuan. Apologies, but yeah, Ghostface always wipes off the blade with the hand. That's why I'm saying Sam has potential to be new Ghostface. Then Tara.
That was a nice touch at the end. The one thing when she kills the boyfriend and she does the blood wipe. I was like, hey, that's cute. It's a little DNA gene pool thing. Cute.
Yeah, definitely. I think that the story going forward, I think your main thread, if you're thinking trilogy, it's all obviously it's these two sisters. One of them is the bad seed, one of them is the good seed, and I think that's what you've got to play on. And I think what will come into play in the next
the killer
film,
and the bad seed has to take her out.
I think I think obviously the mum is going to take center stage in the next film, because it's obviously we've got to bring the mum in so that we can have some questions answered and have a conversation about what you were doing going off with Billy Loomis and all this, that and the other, and I'm sure that will throw up some revelations, and then just flipping bring Stu back by the third one. But so callbacks to the original and how they kind of took stuff the original did, but they kind of put spin on it. So like right from the opening, so we have a scene that is essentially a modern day riff on the original opening with Drew Barrymore, except this time she doesn't die, she survives, and actually becomes a main character. I like that because it instantly kind of puts you on her side, and yet, and I think this is down to the performance of is it Jenna Ortega, I think her name is, all the way through this film, even though she's been attacked, and even though we see her get attacked again after the fact, in my head I'm thinking, I bet she's one of them. I bet she's one of the killers.
I started to think about that because of how sure I was that Jack Quaid was the killer.
Yeah.
When they first introduced him, especially, I mean, I'd already made up my mind, but then Dewey immediately points the finger at him. And once it was clear that everything was going back to the original film and he had all these alibis, even when he's in the hospital, he just shows up right at that second to get slashed in the spot that's not going to hurt him. And I was like, well, if they're going back to the original.
In the same spot that. What's his tits got slashed in? Sidney's boyfriend in the second film says.
Yeah. So I was like, if they're going back to the original truly, they're going to play this whole thing up just like they did with Billy Loomis, where they make it obvious and then they make you doubt yourself. And then it turns out the obvious was true. And so by the, maybe hour mark, I was along the same lines. I was like, either they're making it really obvious and that's going to really be disappointing, or they're making it obvious because they're going to make the least obvious character the killer, which would have been Jenna Ortega. So I was kind of with you. And then when he pulled his mask off, I was like, oh, okay.
Yeah, in the hospital when they're all, whatever, horseshoed around the bed, and he introduces himself. The other killer, the girl, I forgot what the hell her name is, but the short girl who definitely fits in a Scream outfit. They have like this little snark, and I was like, if you're just meeting for the first time, why would you be so snarky with him? Like, that was like that picked up my I wasn't thinking her so much, but him, and then the fact that he kept watching the movies, I was like, no.
As soon as he tried to play like he didn't know what the hell Stab was, I was like, within this universe, Stab is like Halloween.
Yeah.
And I don't care if you don't like horror at all. Everybody knows what the hell Halloween is. So as soon as he's like, what is this franchise you speak of? I was like, bitch, get out of here. Killer.
The thing is, though, is like the nature of this franchise is that every single character now, when you get a new film, every single character is set up in such a way that they could be the killer, or they could just as equally be a big fat red herring. And that's the problem with trying to guess who the killer is, because everybody's a suspect. Yeah, everybody's a suspect, and it's just like, and you look at it and you start thinking, well, I've got to go for the least obvious then. And for me, it just there was, and it was the way she played it again. Like I say, Jenna Ortega. So when she's in the hospital bed, the look on her face was just like she knows something. She's like she's got it in for a sister. There's just the way she plays. But then when you go back and you watch it again on reflection, you realise no, she's just someone who's really bricking it right now. She's psychologically on edge. She's just been attacked. So, but they set it up because obviously, as soon as you get the first film in which Billy and Stu start hacking each other up at the end of the film, from that point on, literally, you know, the killers in these movies are prepared to do anything,
right,
to reach that goal,
and they wanted to escape, right.
Yeah. So I'm thinking, well, I reckon it's her. She's clearly she's done this. That's why she survived. But then the question kind of comes, well, why would they act all that out in the house? They could just cut her up, and then I thought, oh, something will pop up at some point that they had to act that out in the house because they had security cameras in the house,
cell phone tracking,
and all that. So they needed to act it out so that when they're tracked, when cameras picked up, all the police gather evidence, it would look completely legit. And in this day and age, the digital age, that would feed in well to, if you go all the way back to Billy and Stu, if you'd have done their kind of modus operandi back then, they'd have had to have thought about that stuff, whereas they didn't have to back then because there wasn't a camera on every street corner and this, that, and the other. But so that's where I thought it was going, and to be perfectly honest, I think that might have been a bit more satisfying, even though by that point to me it seemed a bit more obvious. But yeah, again, you get two random ass killers. It's like, oh.
And I'm sorry, I can't wait anymore. The two killers, how do they know each other? How did they set this thing up? What on
Message
earth?
boards.
What?
Message
Message boards.
Reddit. That's what they say. That's what they say in the movie.
4chan, yeah.
I met her on fan message board.
That's what they say. They literally say that in the film. She's the mastermind. She's the one who wanted to go about doing it, but she needed a partner, and she found basically the biggest stab fanboy on the message board.
He was going out with Billy's daughter. It just
no. He wasn't going out with Billy's
afterwards.
daughter until
Found
after.
her afterwards. Yeah, it was to
He
put the
found-
whole
yeah.
plot in.
That was part of it. He befriended her, became her boyfriend.
you know what? If I
There was a
knew
whole
I wanted
line
to
where
go out
he's
with
like, "It
somebody-
wasn't that hard to find you in this city, and it certainly wasn't hard to fuck you."
Oh yeah. If it just still, I mean, we all have internet people that do and do not exist. So to throw that out there, and that was the weakest thing. I at least I thought. It was
I don't think it's that weak when we live in a world in which people on YouTube can give dick pics to people and it's not.
That's what Facebook groups are for. There you go. You disguise it as something.
It's not out of the realm of possibility that two weirdos would meet and exchange certain interests that perhaps they shouldn't exchange.
We've experienced some of the craziness that we've seen, where we literally have a guy for months that will chase any live stream and he will spend hours making
multiple
4
accounts.
fake accounts.
Yeah.
It's not that far out of the realm of possibility for me.
There's 3 super chats we're behind on.
Okay. Here we go. So Nazgoat2345, thank you. Courtney Cox looks like a Tim Burton animated character.
Yeah, that's why she needs to die.
Yeah.
Plastic surgery has not improved her.
Just enough with the makeup. Just kill her.
For Christmas, Stainboy got a new uniform. It was clean, well pressed, comfy and warm. But in a few short minutes, no longer than 10, those wet, greasy stains started forming again. That's a Tim Burton poem that I remembered as a child. I was a big Burton fan back in the day, but there you go. Okay, horrific. Once again, thank you. Shocked when the opening kill survived. Jenny Ortega is making a name for herself in the genre, but wish maybe one of the killers had got caught, flipping the template, and then a new game starts. That's a good idea, actually.
That's what I wish they would have done with 4, honestly. And 4 didn't make a whole lot of money, so it wouldn't have probably panned out anyway. But I thought that movie, if it would have ended after she did her Scooby-Doo plot, stabbed Sydney, and then busted herself up, and then everybody's carrying her away, and the fates of Sydney's left ambiguous, and she's being hailed as the newest victim, and the movie just ends and sets up another one. I thought that would have been a great way to close that movie out, but it's not what we got.
You introduced Billy as this Dexter subconscious thing. Mm-hmm. You can have her. I mean, if you want to be meta, they really, other than mentioning message boards, they really don't. I mean, how big a deal social media is. They could have a thing where the internet's made up their mind and they think she's the killer, and she it's all around. She can't do anything about it, and slowly but surely he's whispering in her ear and getting her to think things, and she just kind of leans into it. Mm-hmm. Or I don't know. It feels like how you talk about all these different meta things and how Hollywood and all, you have it. You've said it 1,000 times in each movie. All right, what about the internet? Because the internet's driving everything right now, which they even said one little thing about replace the character or something like that. There's a whole nother avenue you can go down with stalkers. People. The concept of what do you call that? Echo chamber, where everybody thinks the same thing, and they've made up their mind despite whatever the hell the truth is. Mm-hmm. Have something like that happen, and with somebody who's I'm just a man to do it, and I don't know.
I do like the idea of maybe halfway through a movie, one of the killers is caught.
Ah.
So you've got one in custody with another one running about. So the best way of tracking the one that's still currently running about is the person you've got in custody, which frees up maybe Sid and whoever's with her to break them out or get in to see them some way and go a little, torture on their ass to get them out, or whatever, or just like, or you do like a Die Hard with a Vengeance kind of thing, where in order to get information, the killer that is in custody won't give information until he gets them to jump through hoops.
Mm-hmm.
So, but they know that if they jump through these hoops, the killer that's still out there is going to be waiting for them. So it's like, so you could there's the potential there to do things like that, and then obviously once you catch the final killer at the end, you've still got the killer that was in custody who's alive to go on in the next film to do some other stuff. I think I am, I guess, a little bit tired of two killers, especially when they end it the same way each time. There's one thing I liked about the third film is that it was just the one killer. And
The one thing to like about part 3.
and I also do tire of them killing both. Like if you had one of them in the second film that was still alive, and you get to the fifth film and one of them still survives, then great, you've got two killers there from two separate movies with quite a few years apart who can then hook up and boom, there's your next film.
Yeah.
They definitely need to shake up the formula a bit.
Absolutely.
I think that they wanted to play it as safe and as close to the chest as possible because they didn't want to do anything to anger the fan base or to disrespect Wes Craven. And I think, at least in my opinion, they've very much respected Wes Craven. They've respected the franchise. I think it's actually amazing how well this movie fits with the other four, despite the fact this is the only one not directed by Wes Craven. And even not having Kevin Williamson write it, I think it fits in very well. Yeah. But now that you've proven yourself, now that everybody's back and has Scream fever again, I think it's time to shake up the formula a little bit. Yeah. Otherwise, it's going to start getting a little bit redundant and monotonous and wash, rinse, repeat if we don't.
For as much as Hollywood bucks back when they say that these movies are what makes people. I mean, there's that line from the first one. It's not the movies that are making
movies
people.
Don't create psychos. Yeah. They make psychos and will create.
You have to stop because first of all, Scream, the franchise Scream, was literally copied by two kids in Canada. You have to stop making it so that the good guys are such big fans of the genre and the bad guys are such fans of the genre because we have morons and they're going to copy it thinking, well, even the good people said the movies were incredible. That's just my newsworthy point of the day.
2 super chats. There you go.
Sean Sheridan, would you like to see a new Ghostface?
Yeah, with
costume?
A scar right here.
I think that the TV series proved you can't do that because they tried to do a different mask for the first 2 seasons, I believe, before reverting back in season 3, and that's the one consistent thing I always hear is people don't like the new mask.
I don't like it when they do it. Like when they did it with Halloween, the mask that they used after the original was just like, oh, that looks like like real cheaper, tackier version of it. I mean, like how hard it is it to literally go to the props room and grab the original mask? Instead, you make another one and it just looks crap. And then
it has blonde hair.
And it's like with Chucky as well. Let's change the Chucky design, and like when they changed it, it started to go.
It is weird. It's like, what do you just incinerate all this shit every time you get done with a movie? Just put it in a storage closet for a year before you go make another one.
Yeah. What's weird is like they're all, well, with the exception of 1 and 2, they're all characters that don't really know each other. They don't know of each other. They have really different motives, but they have the same outfit. Like they all know the same thing they have to wear. You could cheat it and give us something new and see how it goes. And
I'd be up for literally the exact same costume, but one of the killers wants to personalize it, so he sprays a red, whatever on it. I'd be up for that, because obviously the costume itself is famous, so the companies are going to be selling it every year around a particular time. So I get it, but I could understand the killer saying, "Yeah, I'm not going with the old white. I'm going to spray paint this bitch red or whatever."
There's the ironic line in the movie too, where they say that Ghostface is the constant killer, and it's like, all right, your Scream. First of all, Ghostface is the mask. Everybody else inside it is different. So I feel like they're just falling slave to the Michael Myers or Freddy. Jason, all that, like you don't have to, you're trying to do something different. You don't have to have the same looking person, like down to the outfit. And again, that girl is way too short.
I would like to see somebody wear it who is like a bit of a giant, and then it don't quite go all the way down. So it goes down to the knees, and then like instant dead giveaway where it's like, dude, we know it's you. Like you're the only 7 foot tall guy in the
or somebody with a
town.
limp, just
like,
usual suspects.
Yeah. Okay. Daniel Skinner, I appreciated the dead meat cameo. James A. Janice. You'll have to fill me in on that one.
Yeah, I don't remember that.
It's in that YouTube scene that I was talking about, where he's clicking through and it shows a clip of Dead Meat, who's probably the biggest horror YouTuber.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
And again, I mean, it's barely in the movie, but like it's a big
pretty
deal.
fucking awesome for him. I mean, thoughts aside, I don't care if you like his channel or not, and I don't watch it very often, but I mean, if you make it into a massive horror film for working on YouTube, I mean, you could always point to that. Like, you can say whatever you want, bitch. I was in Scream 5,
bitches. Come on.
Instead of being in LA, I guess. Yeah.
Oh man.
I'll keep my phone on for 6, guys.
Should have stuck Durbania in there. See Durbs just like pointing at something with a big cheesy grin on his face. The Chosen poster in the background.
Yeah.
Okay. Stu killed Dewey. Well, he had a good crack.
They could always say in a sequel that it was him. I mean, what we got in the 3rd film where Roman was actually the mastermind. They could do that again. Get to Scream 7 and Stu's like, yeah, I was in the hospital.
Yeah. Well, I mean, it's like Saw, isn't it? It's like with Jigsaw, kind of pulling strings and turning everyone.
I planned out every scenario for the next 10 years.
Yeah, there's like a notebook somewhere that somebody's found, like
it's Stu's notebook. Seriously, Stu's in a room somewhere, and he's the one on the internet making these connections. And
that's just so awful. I'd love it. Like, just it's so terrible. Like, oh really? But all right, let me see what else has he got there.
Yeah. So Stu should be the mastermind behind it all. He's been training all these little ghost face bitches to be his entourage. But all right, okay. Daniel Skinner plans to do stream again for Texas Chainsaw. Goodbye, Daniel.
You wasted $2, Daniel. You wasted it.
You'll hear my thoughts on the movie whenever it comes out, Daniel. The other two, I think they might, leave their oven on.
Yeah. I think I have to rearrange the socks in my oven.
Yeah, I've got some wrists to slit on that day, I'm afraid.
I'll watch it. Whether or not I want to talk about it's a different story.
Man alive. I think
my uncle's a good person.
I'd rather have chronic diarrhea.
Well, it's going to be on Netflix.
See, I told you my uncle's a really, really good person.
Yeah, I've zero excitement for that, as I'm sure you can imagine. As I'm sure you can imagine.
I don't dislike the franchise anywhere near as you, but to me, it's just like there's absolutely no reason to be excited for anything that we know about this movie. Fede Alvarez is involved. He could have delivered cookies to the fucking set.
They have to stop that shit by bait and switching people with the producer credit because
hate it.
that don't mean anything.
It doesn't mean a thing. It's like I just wish Fede Alvarez had actually directed or put some effort into doing something with Don't Breathe 2.
Yeah,
rather than jump. He created
he's such a
horror
weird director as far as his choices, isn't he? Because he came out with Evil Dead, which I think most people loved, and they're like, "Who is this guy?"
Yeah.
And then you get Don't Breathe as like the second punch, and you're like, "Oh my god!"
Yeah.
And then he's just like, whatever. And then he does that random Girl with the Dragon Tattoos sequel that doesn't even connect to the other movies that just came and went.
Yeah.
And now he's
that?
producing a sequel to his own creation and lets it go to shit. I didn't hate the movie, but the potential was.
Do you guys think that the only reason people give producers so much credit is because of Poltergeist and Steven Spielberg was a producer?
No, I think that they just know that people are stupid. I mean, people still think that Jordan Peele directed Candyman for that exact reason.
Yeah,
because they know they put the biggest name on the poster. That's all people see. I mean, when Hostel came out, Quentin Tarantino presents
from
Hostel.
the people that know the guy. That
and it's
it's like the thing is there is. If you actually look into what producers do, there's different kinds of producers. Like Spielberg, for example. Like, there was a TV show back in the early noughties called Taken. It's where Dakota Fanning kind of first reared ahead. And it was a really great show. They were like 1 hour and a half episodes. And I remember I got the DVD box set of it and I listened to the commentaries. And they talked about just exactly what... Because that was one of them things where it's like, Steven Spielberg presents... Mm-hmm. And I was like, yeah, right, so he's put his name on it. But actually, when you looked at the behind-the-scenes stuff on that and listened to the commentaries, he really was a producer on that, in the sense that he found the story, he made the tweaks to it, he chose the talent, decided what direction he wanted them to take it in, the look that he wanted it to have, all this, that, and the other. So that's when a producer is hands-on, and that show does feel Spielbergian.
That's well, just the same thing as Poltergeist. But for everything else, for most films, not everything else, the producer's the timekeeper, the bank watcher, and the making sure you're sticking to your schedule. That's really what the producers do.
If you're going back to old Hollywood, really, they were the money men. So the book stopped with them. They gave the money, so they had the final say.
Hey, no pressure, but get this in this take, otherwise we can't pay for it anymore.
Yeah, it's like, I mean, back in old Hollywood, directors didn't even go to the edit. Once they shot it.
Who introduced that final cut clause to contracts?
Zack Snyder.
David Gill. People still think Tim Burton directed Nightmare Before Christmas. The thing is with that, that's another case where I will argue that
you could feel his influence heavy.
Yeah,
big time. Listen, he isn't just someone who's just stuck his name on something. He came up with the story for that. He found the writer, Caroline Thompson, and said, look, this is my story. These are the plot beats. This is exactly what I want to happen. You write it, as in you put the dialogue. He's got the script then he goes out, he finds the people he wants to get it made. So
I think directing a film and directing a stop-motion film are like night and day.
Oh, yeah.
And all the character designs are his as well. So if you look at his sketchbook before that film, when he came up with the story.
Coraline, you're like...
Yeah. All of his, so Henry Selick went on to do Coraline. I mean, Henry Selick's a master at that stop motion animation anyway. But yeah, there's a reason it's called Tim Burton's Nightmare Before Christmas. I get Henry Selick directed it and he did a fantastic job. But all those character designs, the story, that was all Burton's, and he found the talent. So I understand that kind of producer credit. What I don't understand is something like Guillermo del Toro presents The Orphanage. And it's like, that was a film made in Spain by J.A. Bayona that literally Del Toro saw, loved, and then said, "I'm going to present this to a Western audience." Oh, great. So they're the ones to me that are a bit, nonsensical.
All about marketing.
But yeah, Scream. Anything else?
Oh yeah.
We're here to talk about Scream, people. Like,
I will say I enjoyed the Judy character more in this movie.
Sheriff?
I didn't like Judy.
Is that Judy, Sheriff?
The sheriff, yeah.
She's deputy in 4 and she's sheriff in 5.
They really played up her, like in the 4th one. She felt like a bizarre Looney. Yeah, she was a Looney Tunes character. Mm-hmm. It's like they were playing it fairly straight, and then they just dropped this bomb in of her doing all this Looney Tunes nonsense, and it's just like.
The one thing I was curious about is the relationship with her and her son. I was just like, is she
a bit of a Norman Bates thing?
Yeah, I was like, are we sure? Yeah. It was just kind of weird the way she would talk to him. I was just like, what? Okay.
It's just I just think, some mothers love their sons.
It's just no. I mean, it just caught me off guard for a second. I'm not saying that like I ran with it or anything, but it's another thing where it's like you have a new character that you created, and you just gave up on. You killed him because horror movie like it. I don't know what matters most.
It's not like she was an original, though, is it? She was introduced in the 4th one. She's pretty expendable. It's not like Sid, Dewey, or Gale. Mm-hmm. Been around since.
But I mean, how many times are you going to target Sidney Prescott for whatever?
Well,
she survived. She wrote that book.
Came in. Yeah. They didn't want anything to do with her. She just Dewey called her, and she's like, fine. Let me go deal with this prick.
It's like Star Wars. They're like, that's the brother of a Skywalker, so we all got to get back together. And
They did want her because a lot of their plan was geared towards getting her back to the town. Mm-hmm. But what I like about Sydney is the fact that if there's a new killer in Woodsboro, she is literally the first one to go, all right, let's go kill this mother.
That's fair.
So that's what I like about her. It's not that she doesn't find herself in those situations. The situation happens and she goes, right, let's go and clean this crap up. And that's what I like about her as a final girl. She's become Ripley in Aliens. She's like, she charges in and says, right, I'm gonna deal with this.
Pick your version of Jamie Lee Curtis in one of the other Halloween movies, and she's kind of her. Not the new Halloween.
So overrated.
Apparently, Sydney is also married to Patrick Dempsey's character from 3. It's a blink and you miss the moment where she references her husband by the first. Again, it's something
I heard her say kids.
This is something I learned on the internet, but yeah, she mentions her husband by name, and it's the same first name as Patrick Dempsey's character. So
that's good to hear.
That'd be nice to bring them back then in the next one. Mm-hmm. It's like, seriously, there is potential. There's a lot of potential as to where they can go next. But yeah, I did think the sheriff's kill was, again, for a character that I didn't really enjoy all that much in the 4th film. In this one, they humanized her a lot more because she had a son, and because she had that, she was literally racing to get back to him. So when she's running up the steps and actually
it's a risky kill in the middle of the day, man.
They executed that whole sequence really well too, because they really made you feel like the son was going to get it, and then whenever she got it, they made you feel like that was the target, and then he was going to go, and then he gets the son too.
Although I will say,
which also could leave you to think that he's a killer, though. Like it leaves, like, if you're still thinking who's the killer, you could think that that he's called his mom back to kill her, and there's a couple of things that make that scene really neat.
It is well orchestrated. I will say, though, I do think they play on the whole, I'm going to open a kitchen door and there's the killer behind it. No, he's not. I'm going to open the fridge and there's a killer behind it. No, he's not. I'm going to come out the shower. There's a killer. No, he's not. I think they did that one too many times during that sequence. It's like, two's your limit. If you do that twice, if you go in like
false
3 or more,
jump scares.
Yeah. It's like just Okay, so Bishop Walters, Sydney should never get killed off. Don't pull a Disney Star Wars with killing iconic characters off in pointless ways.
It's not to say that it's going to be a pointless way.
I
don't think they would just kill her in the first act. Like, fuck her.
This is why I think Stu needs to come back. Final film, like film 6, we reveal it's Stu. He's been orchestrating stuff, finding these people that he can use as killers. Comes back, and then him and Sydney basically take each other out. Like Sydney
Ooh.
Yeah.
I like that.
Sydney comes to a place where it's like, literally, if I have to die in this moment, but if I don't, then Stu pretty much butchers everyone in his house.
I like that a lot. Stu's created all this evil that has been brought upon her in her life, and she's had to defend all of this good. Yeah. That's it. Get on a boat and just
do it.
Sink into the sea.
Commit.
Ooh, scream on a boat. Cruise. Scream on a cruise.
Scream 4, cruise control.
How did you guys feel the way the third? I mean, whatever. If I'm too soon, I'm too soon. The way the third act played out, the way the situation got to be the way it was, because I thought it was very, very contrived.
As far as them coming back to the same house?
So the girls partying at the stew house.
But it's not contrived, is it? They arranged it because the killer took the girl's inhaler so that they would.
Yeah,
have
but
to
they
go
were going
back
away.
together.
The only reason they went back to the house was because she says, "Oh, I lost my inhaler."
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
But the original plan was they were supposed to leave.
No, because one of them, who's in the car, is one of the killers. The other killer has gone back to the house with the inhaler. So the killer that's in the car has got no intention of them leaving. He's literally there to make sure that they go back to the house.
He has a line. He says, "Why would we go back there? I actually prefer to keep all my blood in my body. Thank you very much."
He's just keeping up appearances.
Yeah, it's keeping up appearances.
Anybody with common sense is like, no, I'm not going back to that fucking town.
Yeah.
What are you talking about? We're getting out of here. Fuck your inhaler.
It's keeping up appearances, but then if one of them had said, "Yeah, you're probably right, actually," then he'd say something like, "Oh, it's fine, I'll take us. Well, I don't want to dying on us." So it's just, it's like you keep up appearances for as long as you don't, as long as you need to, and then when you don't need to, you don't. So you just change your tack, don't you? But
it just felt so convenient that they got back and they were at the house together, and then you know what? Again, why kick everybody out of the party?
Because he wants. Because he wants Sydney there, he wants Sam there, he wants Sam's sister there. Basically, he wants that group of friends. But all the ones who are related to the people from the first film, he wants all them there because they're the ones they want to kill because they're trying to reenact the first film. They don't give a toss about all the other people that are in there. And if anything, they're a hindrance to them getting the job done. Because if the house is full of people...
Higher body count. You're all about making a better movie. This movie's going to outshine the original. All right, we'll make a better movie, man. We want to do like The Collector 2 and fucking...
I'm finding holes in your criticisms, to be honest, but... fair enough.
Dude, listen, Friday the 13th fan. What do I need to tell you?
Eric Harris and Dylan Klebold ruined Scream 3.
That's correct. That is correct. I worked at the theater. The Columbine shooters, which on my channel I have a series called 1999 Best Movie Year Ever, where I talk about events that affect...
I'm coming up in that.
Yeah, you are. 2 more episodes.
I'm
not
even in the next one.
No, November's next and December's next. I just relax.
The Stu idea was supposed to be for Scream 3, like he was orchestrating the killers, but it sounded too much like Columbine, so they rewrote it, I think.
Right. That, and then everything got... I think they even had to push it, too, because Columbine was a year before and like everything about what made Scream awesome got changed because I think the Columbine people referenced Scream a bunch, and it was just like, they'll never let us show this in Colorado. There was a bunch of different elements that made it so difficult for them to, well, their original plan, and then, well, I don't know, three happened, so they kept going. whatever was holding them back, they said, nah, we'll figure out a way.
I enjoy 3 despite its flaws. I still enjoy it.
It's solid enough.
Yeah.
2 Creed songs, man.
Yeah, man, that's like a whole star.
I'm kidding. I'm not being ironic. I'm serious.
I'm serious too.
What If is one of my favorites. What if? Is this the end? And then there was a movie in between.
Good grief.
Do you have it set,
dude?
Brian, on the?
I'm just blocking.
No, do you have the subscriber thing set?
We'll tell him how to do that once we get off.
Yeah.
I had the same exact person do the same exact thing on Rudy's live stream yesterday.
Yeah,
Jesus,
can't go anywhere.
I do.
Pathetic human being, whoever this person is. I hope this makes you feel important because
it's just like,
I don't give a shit about
you, dude. Get a life. It's
Yep.
like
you inconvenience me for half a second to click block.
Yeah. You've made your damage. Ooh.
Yeah.
Anyway, on that note, if there's nothing else to say, I think we'll leave it there. But yeah, Scream. Check it out, guys. It's actually pretty decent. How many slasher franchises can you get a 5th film in and still be keeping that quality?
Yeah.
Pretty much unheard of.
Nightmare on Elm Street was pretty good for 5.
What? Really?
Oh, 5. No, art. No.
You got 2, 4, and 5.
Yeah.
We got to talk about
Well,
that.
2 was dark, and it's kind of grown to have a new appreciation.
I think that movie's known more for its legacy than it is the actual movie.
Yeah, everything. Yeah. Did you guys do your rankings, both of you?
Yes.
Yes.
Where is this on your lists?
I had it just above 3, but there's a pretty sizable gap between 3 and Scream. Like to me, Scream 5, 2, and 4 are all pretty close. You've got the first one, you've got 2, 4, and 5, and then you got 3.
So 1 is top for me, then 2, just about 2. I think that could be down to the fact that I've only seen the new one once, but that was close to edging 2 out. So Scream 5 is number 3.
Really?
Scream, yeah.
Okay.
Then Scream 4 is number 4, and then Scream 3 is bottom. But like Cody said before, if Scream 3 is your worst film in the franchise, you ain't got much to worry about.
Yeah, I think I'm 1, 4, 2, 5, 3.
Right.
There. No need for a video. Spoiler.
So
just clip
CP?
that and make a fancy thumbnail. 1, 4, 2, 5, 3.
CP, you alluded to your 1999 thing. You got anything else coming up, or is that?
There's two episodes which 1999 I've actually been pretty consistent for me. I got 4 episodes out over the course of 3 months, which has been spectacular if you know the history of that series, and it should be done by the end of February. I have my other series, which is the only reason I exist, I think, which is called Who Would Like That, and I'm covering the French film titled Baise-moi, which, yeah, the French are a little weird, I think.
Yeah. As soon as you say I'm covering the French, I'm like, I'm out.
Dude, there's like 7 of them, though. It's like French film, yeah. I just redid The Irreversible, They had a 2020 cut that I actually quite enjoyed.
Right. 'Cause they've edited it in order of this.
Yeah, and then they took a couple of things out.
Right.
Not that 10-minute scene. They left that 10-minute scene alone. But I like it. If you ever seen Audition, it reminds me of a different version of Audition.
Which version would you say you preferred?
Oh, Irreversible, the backwards, the straight cut is what they call it.
The original one, or the
No, the new one.
The new one. Oh, right. So you preferred it in linear order?
Yes, because the old one, the O2 version, it starts with the end, and the camera works all and like you have no footing. You have no idea what's going on. You're like trying to make things out, and it's just everything's just got you so like off axis. Whereas,
but isn't the whole point though of starting with the brutal act of violence by this guy? You don't know why he's doing it, so you just think you hate him right off the bat. You hate him.
Yeah.
So isn't the whole point that by the time you get to the end, you actually become him? Whereas if you play that,
well, that and Gaspar Noé, like on purpose, added stuff to make people anxious. Like he added like these sound of effects and like he just wanted you agitated and like
crunching bone and all
yeah
that.
Yeah, good job. You kept me agitated, and I'm one for pitch for 31 on 31.
Pitch for 31 on 31. Instead of ranking franchise entries, you rank the past franchises themselves.
Do we have 31?
Well, we will eventually, I'm sure. Maybe one day. Maybe one day. Wouldn't have to go back. Your thoughts are on your pages. Can tell TCM Friday will be the lowest for Brian. Yeah.
And Critters will be lowest for me and Cody.
Screw you. Critters is a classic. Bitches. Right. Cody, what have you got coming up?
I've got a video called 10 Movies That I Want Remade. It's another Patreon pick top 10 that I'm going to try to have out tomorrow. Today it just wasn't going to happen. I don't have a set date for it, but at some point me and CP are going to do something, whether it's 2 separate videos or a live stream where we're going to write our own ending for Dexter. We've been talking a lot about it for the past couple of weeks, and I think that would be a really interesting thing to do. A very narcissistic thing to do, but fuck it. We're going to go to the end of the series, and
Airbag's been writing a script for a couple of weeks, so
yeah, exactly. So we're going to do that at some point, probably next week. Die Hard 5, A Good Day to Die Hard, the final Die Hard review will be on Monday. And that's pretty much all I have written right now. Next week, I need to come up with some ideas of some other videos. I also started a gaming channel called Cody Leach Game Chamber, and I did a video yesterday on the Xbox, Microsoft acquiring or putting a bid to acquire Activision and all of that. So if you like gaming content, it's going to all be on that channel from now on.
Yeah. Good for Microsoft getting that wonky game to themselves.
Yeah. And then that's it. I was looking at my calendar and it said Morbius, but that's not true anymore, is it? So,
well, I've never seen Dexter.
Get into it.
Yeah, right.
After Breaking Bad.
After hearing about the ending the first time around, I was like, oh, maybe not. And then it came back. And then after hearing about the second ending this time around, I'm
now you get to rank the 2 endings.
I'm not touching that series with a barge pole now.
So.
I'm both extremely morbidly curious and terrified for you to watch Breaking Bad, because I really think that you would love it, but knowing you would have one of your crazy moments and you would be like, ugh, what is going on? This sucks. And I'd be like,
yeah. The heart killer, Brian. Just
yeah.
Thanks.
It ain't no West Wing, is it?
That was my favorite. I'll just go run into a wall now. Thank you.
On that note, say goodnight, guys.
Good night, guys.
Bye.
Good night.
Wiliscredia.